Today, my friends, we are going through chapter, I believe we're on chapter 9, and this is part 2 of chapter 9. And at this point, we are doing positioning statement or developing something called a positioning statement. All right. So positioning statement, my dear people, is essentially this it's something similar to a commercial marketing, but it is specific. This is not it. Hold on a second. All right, there we go. It is a description of your target market and compelling reason why your product or services is the best choice for them. Why should they choose you? Well, that has to deal with the positioning statement that you create. So it basically serves as an internal guide. So this is not for the public. Internal guide into understanding or ensuring that all marketing efforts are aligned with the desired brand perception. So you got to think of it as a foundation for your messaging, driving consistency across all marketing channels. So it answers these questions. Who is your target audience? What needs or challenges are you addressing? What makes your product or service unique? And why should consumers choose you over the competition? My collar's full with them. Thank you. I looked cool. Okay, thank you. All right, so unique characteristics that a positioning statement has is that product or services is that you're looking at the product and the key elements in your product and services and what you are bringing to the table. Cool? Yes? How we feeling? Alive? Fantastic. This air conditioner is really loud. Okay. So for developing a statement, you should have the following formula. The formula is defining your target audience. So define who you are speaking to. You have to have a brand name, obviously. So the brand name or product should be clearly stated in your positioning statement. You have to describe the categories in which your product or services compete. And this helps clarify what the offering is and what space it occupies in the market. For example, if it's a luxury product, then you're looking at making sure that that's there in the positioning statement. If it is a budget-friendly option, then you also have to have that in the statement. And so you're also looking at identifying what sets your brand apart. So this is where the unique character comes into play or characteristics, and what can your product or services offer that others cannot. And lastly, you want to explain the benefits. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. So let's do this. So if you're looking for a nice little formula, this could probably be one of the formulas. You have okay, so for target audience, brand name is whatever frame of reference that provides point of difference because reason to believe that this is important. So this is an example of it. So for busy professionals, FitFlex is the fitness app that provides customized, time-efficient workout you can do anywhere because it offers personalized plans that adapt to your schedule and equipment availability. So that would be an example of a positioning statement, and it uses the same format that we see up there. We have in the target audience that we have, in this example that we have identified here. There you go. We've identified the target audience, so busy professionals. We have identified the brand name, FitFlex. We have identified the frame of reference, so it's a fitness app. We have point of differences, customized, time efficient workouts, and we have identified the benefits, and that would be the ability to work out anywhere with a plan that fits into their busy life. Do you guys see where it goes? Yeah? Yes? No? Maybe? Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. You are going to take 5 minutes and you're going to think of your favorite brand. Now, typically this is an internal statement, but when you have these huge brands, it's usually easy to come up with something like this. So pick one of your favorite brands and write their positioning statement for them, okay? So maybe about 5, maybe max 10 minutes, think about it, and then write it out. And I'll put a place for you guys to submit it as well in on Canvas. Cool? And then we can share it and discuss. All right, so continuing on with our developing a position statement. Within that, we are using it typically for internal use only, which is what we mentioned earlier. So it's not the message that will go or be directly communicated to the customers or displayed in your advertisement. Instead, it serves as a strategic tool that guides the development of your external messages, ensuring consistency among all of your clients. So essentially what it does, it aligns your team on what the brand stands for, drives consistency across different marketing channels, and sets the tone for advertising, customer engagement, and product development. So what you want to do is you want to decide on a descriptive phrase, which is a short, succinct way to encapsulate your brand's unique positioning. And this is the essence of what you want the audience to remember about your product or your service. When they think of you, what do they think of? Okay, think about it as almost like in personal branding, right? When you're talking about yourself and you leave a room, how would you want the people that are there to remember you? Right? So sometimes you have this association. I want people to know that I'm kind or I'm helpful or to feel comfortable around me. And so when I leave and 2-3 months after not seeing that person, they feel comfortable enough to call me and say, hey, I need your help. Right? That's the impression I want to leave. Now, if I'm a brand, then I have to think about the same thing. And that would be how I would want someone to describe me as a brand, because you got to think that the brand is personified. Yeah, everyone knows what personification is? Cool. So personification, for those who don't know, personification is essentially attributing human traits to something, okay? So you have to think of your brand as a person. When this person is out of the room, what do you think of? How would you describe them? Yeah? Okay, so that would be your descriptive phrase, and that's something that you have to think to keep in mind. For example, Nike's "Just Do It" is a great descriptive phrase, and it's not just a tagline, it actually encapsulates the brand spirit. As a whole, whatever you're doing, whenever you say "just do it," it really just, the brand wants to empower you to do athletic things, right? To do things that are harder for you, to keep going. So, Nike's not very cool. So that it's not just a tagline for them, it really is a descriptive phrase of who they are. Okay. So some of the things that you're looking for is, I'll type it down here. So what is the single most important thing that you want customers to remember about your brand? How is your product different or better than others in the market? What benefits or outcome does your product offer that will resonate the most with your target audience? Those are the questions you want to answer through this descriptive phrase, but it's not necessarily about the features of your product, but more so about how does your product make that person feel. Because again, the entire concept is that people buy from people. So the focus statement of your positioning statement should be clear and singular. So while it's tempting to try to say everything about your brand, an effective positioning statement zeroes in on the most compelling and differentiating point. And this might be your product's unique features, a specific customer benefit, or an emotional connection. So this would be, you're looking at simple and clear, consistent, and relevant to the audience. And this is our example. Okay. This is our example. So for busy professionals who appreciate luxury, Brew Co. is a premium coffee brand that delivers the richest, smoothest flavor because we only use hand-picked single original beans roasted to single origin beans roasted to perfection. So here the focus is on the rich, smooth coffee flavor of the coffee, appealing to professionals who value luxury in their daily routine. This is not your drive-through coffee, right? The one you pick up from 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven never has a drive-through, but you get what I'm saying, right? This is not the let me go and fill up this cup kind of situation. This is for people who really value luxury within their coffee. And so you're using descriptive words, things like the smoothest sip, as an example, and internally the statement guides how the marketing team positions Brew Co. as in social media and product description, ensuring that they stay focused on the idea of luxury premium coffee and then they don't deviate off to something else. Yeah? Cool? Make sense? Can I continue? So now, behavior-focused positioning is different from the traditional product-focused my goodness, I can't speak. Product-focused positioning. There we go. It's different in that it's aimed at encouraging a specific behavior that you want people to change. So now again, this is a community-based marketing class, so we're bringing it back. As we said at the beginning of this course, we're using the things that are the tools and the skills that we have from normal marketing for the traditional marketing, and we're bringing it to behavioral change because at its very core, marketing and psychology are best friends and they're always hanging out together. Catch them at the local coffee shop. What is it? Brew & Co. One we had earlier. Look alive, people. That was a good reference and you guys missed it. And I demand. What is it? Can't think of the word. Sometimes when you speak multiple languages, you get stuck on a particular word in one particular sentence or one particular language, and your brain goes, what's that sentence in English? And then you're speaking the other language, and you're like, what's that sentence in Arabic? Or Spanish or whatever. Anyways, moving on. I see some nodding heads that agree with this. I feel your pain. Okay, so Behavior-focused positioning targets a very specific desired behavioral change, which is kind of the whole point of our class anyways, and it encourages it to adopt that behavior. So this is often seen in campaigns promoting healthy habits, safety measures, or environmental actions. The goal here is not to sell the product, but to actually have people influence their behaviors and to have them do whatever it is that you want them to do. So a classic example is 5 a Day for Better Health campaign, and that encourages people to eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. And the focus here on specific behavioral change, and the message is simple and clear. 5 a day defines what the audience should do, which is eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables daily. It has tangible benefits. So the message connects the behavior to a tangible benefit in this example. And then social or public good. And it's often behavioral focused positioning is focused on public health. It's focused on environmental campaigns. It's focused on social change initiative. And that's what we're looking for. And that's how it's different from other things, okay? Or other positioning statements. Let me see if we can find this campaign so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So we can see their messaging and what they did. Look like it's there. However, these are the World Health Organization campaigns.
Did you know that one is
I think you'll find a lot of like examples for what we're doing or the kind of things, the kind of behavioral change that we want on the WHO, which is the World Health Organization, because their entire initiative is ran on public health, right? That's the entire point of existence. So if you're looking for examples, this might be a good place to be. All right, back to our story. All right, barrier-focused positioning statement. Can anyone tell me what they think this is based on what we have known about barriers and behavioral change? Anyone? Yes, no, maybe? All right. I can wait. What are barriers? Things that limit you, right? So if the positioning statement is focused, barrier-focused positioning, then what are you focusing on? Eliminating the barriers, right? So taking away the barriers, and so your campaign is not about selling a particular product or service. Your campaign is actually on focusing what barriers, how can we change those barriers, or how can we eliminate those barriers so that people can get to that behavioral change. So this is talking about practical, financial, psychological, or even emotional barriers that a person might have, and directly addressing these obstacles to make sure that people engaged in that behavioral change. Cool? Yes? Awesome. So some common barriers are things like cost. So there's a perceived cost into how much people think something is, and an actual cost. So maybe the perceived cost that, oh my gosh, it'll be really expensive for me to eat really healthy food, but the actual cost is a lot lower than what the public opinion is on that, okay? Maybe someone thinking that it's gonna cost me a lot to start a business, or I don't have the resources to start a business, don't know that there are resources out there that will help you start your business for free, right? So that would be changing the perception, yeah? So eliminating that barriers so that women are empowered, let's say, to start their own businesses, or minorities are empowered to start their own businesses because they were limited by their beliefs. So we're taking that and we're breaking it down. Okay, so cost barriers, the real cost of a product or service. So you might feel that product is too expensive and they don't have you don't have the budget for it, but we're changing that in case it's actually changeable, right? Complexity or inconvenience is another barrier. It's another very much of a barrier. Like it's going to be something you have to go out of your way to change it. But as part of your campaign, you can bring that closer. So you direct your campaigns to help solve a particular issue. Skepticism is another one. Skepticism, so customers might be unsure if a product will actually deliver the benefit it promises. And this is particularly true for new innovations or products where trust hasn't yet been built, or you guys, things that they've tried before and have failed over and over and over again. Okay, so maybe similar products where I think again, it was this class we're talking about the dating apps and how many times people download them and delete them, download them and delete them. So when a new app comes into the market, people are skeptical about it. They may download it, but they still have these skepticism about this particular app. Will it work? Will it be different? And they're more reluctant to do it. So you have to, in these kind of campaigns, you have to almost like start at a negative and then work your way to the positive. Okay? And then lack of information is the last one. People simply don't know. All right, so at the heart of a benefit-focused position is the idea that consumers are primarily concerned with how the product or service improves their life. So WIFM, what's in it for me? That's what we're looking for, right? When you're looking at a benefit-focused positioning statement, or positioning, not just statement, saying statement, but you're looking at benefit-focused positioning for your brand. You're looking at highlighting what's in it for that person, okay? So for example, things like saving time, improving convenience, enhancing health or well-being, providing an emotional benefit. These are all what's in it for me factors that you can highlight in your campaign. So the customer wants to know, or the consumer wants to know, what value will this bring me? What's the end result or positive outcome? So in the road crew assignment, a benefit-focused positioning statement was used to reduce drunk driving in rural areas by offering a positive alternative to drinking and driving. So rather than just focusing on the consequences of drunk driving, the road crew program emphasized the benefit of safe, enjoyable night out without the risk of driving under the influence. So this so what's in it for me by positioning of the road crew service as fun, hassle-free way to get home after a night. People weren't just avoiding a potential DUI, they were benefiting from the convenience and safety of the service. Let me see if I can find this. So some of the benefits or why it actually works is that you're looking at, it's very customer centric. So it focuses on what the product does for the customer, the emotional appeal. So it appeals to the customer on an emotional level. So whether it's trying to make their life easier, giving them more time, or helping them feel better, It is focused on what kind of things you provide for that person in terms of emotional, in terms of safety, in terms of being customer service, and it has a clear value proposition. You can clearly see the value. So Roadwork, for example, Road Crew, I think if I'm not mistaken, it was this idea that instead of driving home, you could just call this company and they'll come, or this organization, and they'll come pick you up. No strings attached, no hassle, nothing. Just making sure that people aren't drinking and driving. Yeah, so that's something that you know the best. I don't have to worry about my car. I don't have to worry about Ubers. I don't have to worry about being alone in the middle of the night. I could just call them and they'll come pick me up. Very clear value proposition. Competition-focused positioning is when a company wants to directly compare or differentiate its product or services from other competition. So its strategy, this positioning strategy is especially valuable when companies' offer may be perceived as more appealing and or dominant, and you need to show why your product is still the better choice. Was it OxyClean, the one that used to do commercials with like where they compared the products? Is that what it was? That would be something like that. I mean, in our case, it'd be more let me see. I want to say
Your mic cleans them up baby's clothes.
no. You guys have seen what I'm talking about, right? When they showcase the other product and how their product is better. So looks like
Yeah,
I don't know what
this
this
is
looks like.
Graduation.
All right, so that is competition-focused positioning, where really you're just looking at the value propositions and the quality of your services or your product as compared to the other ones. That was all right, same for less is a strategy that emphasizes same quality or features as a competitor, but at a lower price. Have you seen those, like, sometimes they have Reels or TikToks or whatever that compare the generic brands to the original brand and how much it would cost to shop, like, let's say at Walmart or at Target with the generic brand versus the original brand for the same thing? You guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it's something like that. So the generic brands are saying, hey, we don't have the name, but we have the same quality and you're gonna pay less for it. Same for less. Okay. The other idea is less for much less. So if your product or services that offers fewer features or lower qualities, but a significantly lower price, this is a value-conscious strategy that targets customers who are willing to sacrifice some of the quality for the sake of cost savings. So what they're getting is a lot more for the lesser price compared to the higher price and a little bit more features, if that makes sense. So you want to think about, again, the dollar store, 99-cent store, you can get very similar products at a much lower price, but these are often generic brands and don't promise high-end products, but promise decent, decent rock bottom kind of pricing, decent products with something cheaper, right? All right, so that's that. So this more for less. This is a rare, highly appealing strategy when companies promise to deliver more value or higher qualities than their competitors, but at a lower price. So this strategy can be very effective, but it is also difficult to sustain. So it's great for introductory things, like you're just learning how to do, you're just opening the market for it, right? Or you're new to the market, this might be really good for you. Anyone know what AppSumo is? Okay, so a lot of the technology that you see today out there goes through this. It goes through this website called AppSumo. And AppSumo, essentially, they test out big tech stuff before they're big in the tech market and before they release it to the world. I mean, they release it to the world, but this is where they get really good data at a really cheap price. Okay? So AppSumo does that, where initially, like things like Instantly, which is a cold email software, cold email sending software, it was on here, and people could buy a lifetime deal for a very cheap price compared to the $100 that they have to pay a month to be able to get it. Okay? So things like that. And some of these turn out to be great, some of these turn out to be not so great. Oh, is that email octopus? Is that what happened? Hey. All right, I'm intrigued. I'll come back to AppSumo. But this would be something like less for much more. Okay? So this would be a really good example because why? They're testing it out. They're trying to see if this would penetrate the market. And would be something very valuable and to take out all the kinks that are in there. All the little things that aren't working. Do you see how it applies? Yes? Okay. So you're more inclined to say, okay, I'll pay 50 bucks for this AI toolbar for a lifetime deal, and I'll test it. I'll throw 50 bucks away, and it may turn out to be great. Cool? All right. I gotta come back because they look like they have some use. Questions? All right, competitive superiority is positioning your product or service as superior to the competition in a meaningful way. So this doesn't just mean saying you're better, it actually involves showing and backing up your claim with real life scenarios and data and tangible benefits or advantage that matter to your client. So you're talking about better quality, more features, superior customer service, greater reliability or trustworthiness. Then you have, benefit to benefit superiority tactic, and that is positioning your product as having more, better or more benefit compared to its competition. So here the focus is on key benefits and it emphasizes uniqueness. What is so unique about your product and or service? I was giving an example to one of my other classes the other day. What music apps do you guys use? Spotify, what else? Apple, okay. Anything else? All right. SoundCloud, I use YouTube. Anyone here listens to music in another language? What languages? Spanish, the majority of Spanish? Portuguese, okay. Is there a music app for Portuguese that's tailored? No? Don't know? Tailored one for Spanish? Spanish might work, but Spanish and English kind of are friends. So a lot of like the mainstream, it's easy because the United States has a lot of like Spanish speakers. It's easy to have the Spotify and mostly for like Spanish, it's like Pandora, more so than Spotify, right? And so essentially what they're doing here is they're looking at, while they're providing the same services, they're looking at something that's more specific and more tailored as to why you would choose one over the other. So I'll give you an example. There are about 20 Arab speaking countries in the world. And so there's an app called Anghami. Now, Anghami is an Arabic music app where you can listen to all the English, Spanish, Portuguese, whatever kind of language that you want to listen to. But it's tailored, when you open the dashboard, it's tailored particularly for Arabic music and for the different countries that are there. For someone who seeks out Arabic music, that would be the better alternative app. Okay, so for example, I have that subscription, I have the family subscription because my dad loves that app, right? And so his preferences is to listen to things in Arabic. So then you have the benefit to benefit superiority tactic. What is the key focus, or what's the uniqueness of this app? While all of them, YouTube Music, Spotify, Pandora, all of the other ones, I don't know what, Apple Music was the other one, they all have their benefits. This one focuses on that uniqueness for that specific subgroup of people. Does that make sense? But that subgroup of people is a good 20 countries. So it's not a small subgroup, it's actually pretty big. And this is where we get into global markets. Because the US is such a huge market, we tend not to look outside of that bubble, right? But the world is actually pretty huge. And so there are work opportunities or opportunities to invest on a global scale, and that's the difference. But that's not what we're doing here. So here we're looking at emphasizing unique. And so this is where, does that bring it a little bit more closer to home? You see how there's a differentiating part. And so that would be competition focused positioning. Then you have cost to benefit superiority tactics. And that would be offering superior value for the price. So it's not about being cheaper, but about offering a better deal in terms of value the customer gets for what they pay. So this strategy is particularly effective when products offer similar or better benefits than competitors, but more affordable prices. Okay. How are we feeling? Okay, good. All right, so the last of the competitive competition focused positioning, which there's a lot of them, right? So the last of them says benefit to cost superiority, and that emphasizes that your product delivers more benefits relative to its cost. So the ratio of the benefit to cost is higher, right? So it's showcasing that for the price, your product offers more values, features, and advantage. Again, it's relative to the price than what the customer could get elsewhere. So you have $100 to spare to spend. With that $100 here, you're getting X, Y, and Z. Over there, you're getting just X. Okay, so compared to the price, you're going to take this one on versus the other one. So for example, Whole Foods, their products are often more expensive than those found at a regular grocery store, but they justify their price by offering organic, sustainable source, and high quality products. And so customers feel that the extra cost is worth it because of the traditional benefits they receive from the healthy item. And one thing that they do really well now is that they also price the same items for higher. Say other things that you would normally find at grocery stores that would be cheaper because they're not organic or they're not sustainably sourced. Because they're placed among the items that are sustainably sourced and are organic, they tend to price them higher, right? So if you walk in to Whole Foods, has anyone been to Whole Foods? Okay. Typically, even the cheese that you would get, the same brand of cheese that you would get at a Cedar Brothers or a Cardenas or a Superior grocery stores, that might be $1.50, $2 more expensive, right? Because your mind is, the positioning is that this is better for you, even though you can find that same product elsewhere, but it's placed among the items that you're like, okay, I walk in there for healthy things, so it's okay for me to pay an extra $1 or $2 for this. Even though truly you can get the same brand for a cheaper price. Does that make sense? Okay, so that would be cost to cost. Sorry, that would be benefit to cost superiority. Cost to cost superiority is directly comparing the cost of your product to that of your competitors and providing the pricing is better, fairer, or more transparent. The aim is to convince your customers that they're getting the better deal simply based on price. So Aldi is a good example of a brand that uses cost to cost superiority. They focus heavily on providing the same essential groceries and household product as other supermarkets, but for a significantly lower price. And they achieve this by reducing optional costs, so fewer employees, no bagging service, and passing those savings on to the customer. So if they don't have to pay so much for their employees, you get to pay less. And you're okay with that because you're paying less. You're okay. Nowadays, anyways, people are okay scanning their own items to begin with, right? But if that was part of the marketing saying, well, you get a significantly lower price because our cost per unit, our overhead is a lot less. So we can charge our cost per unit. That just decreases our cost per unit, which allows us to give you a better pricing option, then you'll be okay. Yeah, I don't mind bagging my own stuff. I don't mind not having a plastic bag. I don't mind bringing my own bag if that means that at the end of the grocery trip, I'm saving 25 bucks. Okay, questions? Okay, repositioning. Repositioning refers to the strategic process of changing the perception of brand, organization, or movement in the mind of the audience. So repositioning becomes necessary. We'll wait for it to pass. All right, it becomes necessary when external factors force a change. So things like shift in audience, demographic, image issues, or failure to achieve the desired outcome. Were we talking about this here in this class, right? Okay. You guys want me to go in depth into repositioning? Yeah? Okay. All right, so when you're repositioning something, you're changing the person's perception about that brand. So we talked about Fabletics before in this class, I know. When they added a new product, they repositioned their brand to include healthcare workers, right? So they changed their positioning to include more of the market, okay? So new audience, so an organization or brand starts to attract new or different audience. It may reposition itself to appeal to that group, and that's exactly what Fabletics did when they included their healthcare scrubs. That's what they're called. Okay, so they're attracting a new audience, offering new values, preferences, and expectations, and that requires the brand to adapt its messaging to meet those people and to reach out to influencers and to people who can influence that market. And usually when you talk about things like healthcare workers, typically no one understands what it's like to be in your clothes for 12 hours and not be comfortable in them as you're working up and down the hospital more than people in healthcare. So then they will recommend that to others as well. Does that make sense? So they are trusted for that reason, because they know that they share the same experience. Image problem. So brands may also need to reposition if they encounter an image problem. So this could be due to negative publicity, changing public sentiment, or outdated imaging. And repositioning is often necessary to fix damaged reputation or refresh the brand's image to make it more relevant. So fast food chains like McDonald's have repositioned themselves to emphasize healthier menu options and environmental sustainability in response to public concerns over health and nutrition. Do you guys remember the, or I don't know if you guys have seen it. I think I was in high school, so you guys were very young. If you the Super Size Me, the documentary.
Yeah.
Right, so that changed a lot of people's perception of McDonald's and of fast food places, right? And so that forced McDonald's, because of the bad rep that they got, to change their menus to include more things and reposition themselves as, yes, we're fast food, but we also have healthy food options, right? So that was repositioning. Disappointing outcomes. So if a brand, product, or movement has not achieved the desired outcome or failed to meet its goals, it might be time for strategic repositioning. And this can involve reevaluating what went wrong and finding ways to better align with customer needs or expectations. All right. So try to go through these next few slides very quickly. Positioning relates to branding by focusing on perception of the brand. So perception of the brand is the way the audience thinks and feels. So the position of the brand shapes how the target audience thinks and or feels about it. Position isn't just about features or functionality of the product. That's not what we're focusing on. As we said earlier, it's about creating an emotional connection, a psychological connection between brand and the audience. So the brand's position is what ultimately defines its identity in the mind of consumers. Same thing happens for the way you brand yourself, right? The way you position yourself in your workplace can also determine that. So things like what you wear to work and how you look and how you interact and the level of professionalism that you display in your emails and in your conversations determines how you are perceived by your employers, right? The same thing happens with brands. How they position themselves, where they position themselves in that, I want to say societal game, it shapes how we perceive them as well. So you have a lot of luxury brands are luxury brands, not necessarily because of the quality, right? Because it's not that they started off not luxury and they became luxury for the most part. It's more so that they are luxury because they started off that way, right? They positioned themselves there and they shaped everyone's perception of them based on that. So a brand serves as an identifier for the company behind the product or service. So this means that the audience associates certain values, quality standards, and credibility with the name. So successful positioning helps ensure the audience immediately recognize who is behind the brand and what it stands for. So Nike is not just about sports apparel, it's about performance and athletic excellence. And a positioning statement offers the unique value proposition of the brand, and that develops a brand identity. Who's the brand's target market? What's the unique benefit? And how does the brand differentiate from its competitors, which is kind of what we talked about at the beginning of class. Okay, so that, my friends, is it for now. We will continue next time.